I was going to the doctor maybe once every other day, going to the hospital, going to the doctor, going to my primary, and so they none of them offered any solution really. They didn't even tell me it was anxiety either. Like once I went to the doctor, they took blood tests. I don't know, maybe 10 times within the span of a few months. They were like, "Nope, you're good. You're perfect. There's nothing wrong. We can't find any abnormalities. Like you're really healthy." And that I think was the very scary because it's like, all right, so I have something and they can't find it. So then you start thinking in your head, you start Googling and you're like, oh, I have cancer, I'm dying. And it leads you down this rabbit hole.
What's up, everybody? In this video, I have Miguel from the Bye Bye Panic Mentorship. Miguel, how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Thank you, Sean. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Let's get it started because I know there's a lot of people that want to know, first and foremost, before we get into your story, I just want to ask, what were some of the most debilitating anxiety symptoms you were dealing with?
Man, I feel like my symptoms were real textbook. It didn't feel like it at the time. Obviously, I feel like we all feel like we have symptoms that are more severe than anyone else, and we're feeling things that no one has ever felt. But once I really became educated on being sensitized and all the symptoms that come with that, I was like, holy, I have every single one of these symptoms, and I'm not really that special. But if I had to list them, I think the after my first panic attack, I had a very severe case of DPDR, and I didn't know what it was, and it just felt like I was living in a movie where I was watching myself live. Like there was a pane of glass, and I was just watching myself. Like I would look at my hands and think to myself, "What is this? Like, who am I?" And I would have so many existential thoughts to where I was thinking about like life and the stars and what would happen, like so many crazy scenarios that I never thought about before. So the DPDR really, really hit me hard in the first, I'd say, 4 months, to where it was like debilitating, where I had to stop working. I couldn't look at someone in the face and recognize them. It was such a strange thing. It's like I was living inside of my mind, but it wasn't me. And I had to literally spend 3 or 4 months locked up in one room, and I couldn't come out because I was so afraid of the world. I was so afraid of having a panic attack. I became agoraphobic in the process of this, to where I completely stopped working. I completely stopped any kind of communication with anybody. Um, it was just a very, very dark time. And I think the biggest thing was I had really bad digestive issues. So as soon as I would eat something and my body would try to go into what I now know as rest and digest, it's like it was an immediate panic attack every single time I would eat. So I grew this relationship with food to where it was like, okay, I can't even eat food anymore because now every time I eat, I have a panic attack and I have to call the ambulance or I have to go to the hospital. And every time I go to the hospital, they're telling me the same thing. There's nothing wrong with you. Your vitals are good. I would even ask the nurse, like, you check my vitals, right? And what do you think? And they'll just look at me like, dude, you're good. Like, what are you talking about? And I didn't feel good. Obviously, I felt like I felt like I was dying, to be honest with you. So my my symptoms really, like the peak of it was essentially agoraphobia, DPDR, digestive issues. I had like all of the dizziness, nausea, ringing in the head, right? So um, yeah, I feel like I had it all, man. It just I went through the ringer of it. It was very debilitating. It took me out of work for almost a year, but it took me out of society for at least 4 to 5 months, to where I literally did not leave the room at all. I would have them bring the food into my room so that I can, eat it there. Whatever little food I could eat, I lost maybe about 30 to 40 pounds, just because I couldn't really eat anything. I couldn't stomach anything. The morning anxiety was the worst. I felt like every time I would wake up, I felt like I was having a heart attack. So the heart palpitations, it all was just extremely debilitating.
I always do that. I always mute myself, and then our stories are so similar. I was actually smiling when you were talking about the panic attack um, with eating. I had the exact same thing. In fact, when I would eat, I would start pacing, and that was like my way of like trying to avoid a panic attack. But yeah, I developed like this weird relationship with food. I was like, I can't eat. It's so crazy how like so many of the specifics, so many bizarre things as like I'm hearing it from other people, and even now I'm still like, wow, it really is super common. Um, how did all of this going to the beginning? How did all of this start?
Yeah, so so it actually started October of last year, 2022, so right about a year and a month ago. And I was never an anxious person throughout my life, or so I thought. Um, and I went to Las Vegas with with my friends and my cousins, and we were out there partying, and I had a really bad MDMA trip, and I had my first ever panic attack. And at the time, I'm on MDMA. I'm feeling these sensations I have never felt before. And when I have this panic attack, I think, oh, you know what? I might be dying because I've never felt this before. It feels like my heart's about to beat out of my chest. Like I must have taken something bad, right? Um, and so I had this panic attack. And once this panic attack went away after about 45 minutes to an hour, I calmed down. Everything was good. We finished the night. I woke up. And when I woke up, from that moment forward, I had extreme DPDR and I was so agoraphobic. And the sensation of the first panic attack, I had the sensation where it felt like the top of my head, like the crown of my head was like freezing to where like my blood was leaving my body, like my head. And I didn't pass out or anything like that, but it felt like I was going to. And so after that moment, that sensation, it seems like my body like locked onto that, and I would feel it every time that I would get any sort of I would go through any sort of stimulation. My body would go through that sensation of like my blood leaving my head, and I would relive that panic attack over and over again for the next few days, to the point where I couldn't even travel back home. I live in Los Angeles, and I couldn't come back home from Las Vegas because I couldn't even leave my hotel room. I was, so afraid of what's going to happen if I leave here and I have a heart attack on the road. Because at this time, I didn't know it was anxiety. I didn't know it was, DPDR. I didn't know anything. I thought it was, I took something bad and I'm dying. And, I need to get to a hospital. And, I was like, well, if I give it a couple days, if I had some mobile IV guy come and like give me everything that they give people who are like hungover or have taken like something bad, and I had him come 3 days in a row, which I learned later is not a good idea. But every time he came and he gave me the mobile IV, it's like I didn't feel any better. So that's when I started to realize, like, okay, this is something serious. This is not something that's gonna go away in a day or two. And it was I thought, like many people, I took something that fried my brain. I was like, I just took something. It forever damaged me because it's been 3 days. I still feel terrible, and I must have just damaged my brain. I'm gonna have to live with this, and just like the fear of losing your life and um, being so debilitated, it just puts you in this depression. And so once I came back home, I literally spent the next 2 weeks in bed talking to just literally one person, which is my girlfriend. And she understood, she was there for me the whole time. So I really appreciate that. But that's the way it started. And I just never knew it was anxiety until I watched one of your videos. This is like months after. And every single, video that I watched, prior to watching your video was, I don't know, they were like trying to say it was some, I don't know, some like spiritual attack. And, I don't know, it just felt like nonsense to me. I was like, no, that's not what I'm going through. But when I watched your video, and I'm not sure if you were talking about yourself or someone else who had fallen into the cycle from smoking weed, I was like, wait a minute, that sounds a little bit like what I'm going through. And you're the first person that actually said that I saw that said, number one, this is anxiety. Number two, you can recover from this. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm not dying. It's not like I thought I had heart issues and brain issues. I'm like, okay, so maybe this is something that I can recover from one day. And I once I saw that, I feel like I had the like aha moment of like, okay, you know what? Maybe I can recover. Weirdly enough, though, I was like, I'm gonna do this by myself. And so I didn't, I didn't think like, okay, let me dive into the program. I just thought, I'm gonna take that information, I'm gonna try to solve it myself. And that was definitely not a good idea. I would not recommend anyone watching this to try and do it by yourself, because it took me a very long time to get like a very short distance of my recovery. Like it's not worth it. It definitely helps when you have a mentor, a guide, a coach to like walk you through it. But yeah, that's how me falling into the anxiety cycle started, was through a bad MDMA trip that caused DPDR, panic attack. And then, I had, I don't know, maybe about 5 to 7 panic attacks within a week after that first experience. And then after that, it was like I was totally fried.
Mm. Yeah. And so were you going to doctors? What were like the doctors telling you when you were like getting your vitals and all those things before you realized it was anxiety?
Yeah, I was going to the doctor maybe once every other day, going to the hospital, going to the doctor, going to my primary. And so none of them offered any solution really. They didn't even tell me it was anxiety either. Um, Initially, the doctor that I saw said that it could just be my brain recalibrating after, the MDMA. And uh, I said, well, I guess that makes sense. I was like, so how long do you think this is going to take? He said, it could be a week. And I was like, okay, a week. A week passed, and I was like, all right, I feel worse now. And I would keep going back to the doctor, and multiple times I had panic attacks after eating, to where I had to call the ambulance because I literally felt like I was going to die. Like it was just the strangest sensations that I had never felt. Like you say, they're so bizarre, especially after eating. That was the weird thing. So, and both of the times that I had to call the ambulance, actually all 3 times, was right after eating. And I think the every time the ambulance would come, even they really didn't know what was going on until the third ambulance. He said, I think you're having a panic attack. And I said, really? He said, yeah, because your oxygen is good. Because I always felt like, oh, it's my blood sugar. My blood sugar dropped. I'm about to pass out. Like, and he's like, no, your blood sugar is normal. And then they would like hook me up to the pressure machine, and they were like, look, your heart pressure is stabilized. And so they never knew what was wrong, and they could never really give me an answer, especially at the doctor. Like once I went to the doctor, they took blood tests, I don't know, maybe 10 times within the span of a few months. They were like, nope, you're good, you're perfect, there's nothing wrong, we can't find any abnormalities, like you're really healthy. And that, I think, was the very scary, because it's like, all right, so I have something and they can't find it. So then you start thinking in your head, you start Googling, and you're like, oh, I have cancer, I'm dying. And it leads you down this rabbit hole. And then the intrusive thoughts, of course, right? If you don't know about intrusive thoughts, if you're not aware and you just let them take the reins, man, it'll take you down a deep rabbit hole. And, I went down that rabbit hole pretty bad. So yeah, the doctors definitely did not help me.
It's so interesting how like because I had the same thing, especially with the food after having the panic attack after. That was one thing that like nobody could figure out. And to me, it was just so weird. It's like, why is it after I'm eating? So one of the intrusive thoughts I had was there's something going on with my digestion. And then I started going online and I'd find these things about leaky gut and like, oh, there's holes in it. And so that's causing like a body reaction. And so I was convinced. I was like, that's it. Like that makes sense. And I went through this whole rabbit hole of like trying to change my diet and everything because it's just such a weird symptom. I was curious, by the way, before we move further, how is your eating now? Like you still feel it a little bit here and there? Like how does that go?
Yeah, that's actually I was a big foodie. Like I've been a big foodie my whole life. I love food. I'm Mexican, so we love food. We love spicy food especially. And during, like you said, I actually thought I had leaky gut too, and I got all these teas, all these remedies. I went to like a all natural doctor to try and heal what was going on. And we'll probably talk about this more later, but um yeah, I had such bad, digestion issues to where I literally had to go get myself scanned. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's like where you drink that
I do that.
like oh, you did that too, that putty, and it like goes
Iodine or
down.
something, and like it kind of like lights up. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I did that, and I was so certain. I was like, they're gonna find ulcers, they're gonna find this, they're gonna find that. They sent me the results the same day, and they're like, no, it's unremarkable, there's no problems, like you're good, like we don't even see why you would be having any digestive issues. I thought I had GERD, I thought I had, all these things, because every time I would eat, I had a knot in my throat that felt like I couldn't swallow the food, and then it felt like I had massive heartburn. Like whatever I did eat, it was just like, my body was like rejecting all the food that I was putting into it. And it was really bad. And um I think, as I got better, I was able to eat more, but I would still get the sensation. I still get the sensation, Sean, now, but the difference is that now I understand what's going on. I think Merca was the first one who explained it to me, where she said, "Hey, look, this is a science. It's your body's trying to go into rest and digest, but your brain is like, hey, you're in danger, so it's not going to prioritize digestion over survival." And it seemed like once I learned what was going on, I'd say within 2 to 3 weeks, I was able to start eating the way I had always ate my whole life. Um, so it brought back my appetite. Like I could eat now. At this point, I don't care. I eat anything. Like even if it's a heavy, greasy meal, I really don't care. Even though I know that, like when I have a heavier meal, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna feel a little bit of that
That's
rest and
exactly what I was gonna
digest.
say. I started when I was getting better. I would only notice it with bigger meals, like heavy meals.
Mhm.
Now I don't feel it at all. Now I just get a food coma, pass out. Uh,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
but even when I was getting better, there would be meals that I would have, it wouldn't affect me, and then um, and then I like the heavier the meal, the more likely I would feel it, but it wouldn't bother me that much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's how it is now. So I have my appetite back now. I can eat whatever I want. I still get the sensation. It's not as strong as it once was. But now it's like you alarm it, and I feel like I've alarmed so much that I don't have to alarm anymore. It's just like a natural reaction in my head. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna feel this for 5, 10 minutes, and then it's gonna go away. And sure enough, it always does. And so it's progressively getting better to where the time that I feel that like rush of anxiety after eating is getting smaller and smaller and weaker and weaker.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to be. Um, how was your experience in the program?
Oh man, that like I said earlier, I've always been the type of person to try and figure things out by myself. Um, And this is definitely not one of the things that I would recommend anybody tries and figures out by themselves because, number one, this is uncharted territory for most people. You know, I mean, I don't know anybody that studies, anxiety specific and like sensitized, being sensitized, um, the way that you guys do. Like, I, man, Sean, I did so much research. I talked to so many people that were in the health, like in the health industry. I talked to so many people that were in the mental health industry. I spoke to a therapist. I got myself a therapist, and man, that was terrible. I don't know. Personally, I don't think it helped me at all. They just try and diagnose you with like, oh, you're depressed and this and that, and you need this medication. I'm like, all right, no, this is not for me. But um, yeah, I think that the program itself offers so many different resources to help you feel not feel better, but actually truly recover. And I think starting with the content, obviously, that's what drew me to the community was your content online. When I would watch your videos, I would get very small uh, time of relief because you were talking about things that nobody else was talking about. And the way that you were talking about it was not, hey, I'm going to give you this medication for this. It was like, hey, you have the control, you have the power to really overcome this without any of that. And that was very different. So that's why I really resonated with you and your videos. And I tried to absorb as much of it as I can. But like I said, I try to do it on my own from the beginning to I'd say month 10 of my recovery or, recovery. I really didn't recover much in those 9, 10 months. And so it got so bad to where was, I was at a crossroads and I was like, you know what? Either I'm going to live the rest of my life in fear or I'm going to join the program and see what it's about. And I was very skeptical, Sean. I'm not going to lie to you. I was very, very skeptical about the program. I didn't believe that somebody over Zoom could help me recover with the things that I was dealing with because they were so real to me, right? I'm like, how is somebody just by talking to me or just by showing me some information, how are they going to help me recover from this that seems to be like the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life? There's no way. And I do feel like there's a faith element to this where it's like, all right, you know what, we're just gonna have faith. I talked to OJ, man, that guy, he explained to me his experience, and he really understood where I was, and I think he really gave me a good feeling for the group. And I was like, you know what, if everyone's like this guy in this group, I want to be part of it. And sure enough, when I joined, my first meeting was with Jeff. And man, the as an anxiety, when you're going through it, this being sensitized, me personally, I've always been the type of person that, I like to lead. I like to uh like I like to put all of the stress on myself and just lead and just carry it. And that's just the type of person I am. I love to play sports. And in this experience, I became very, very like the opposite. I didn't want to lead anything. I didn't want to do anything. My self-esteem went down and I felt like I didn't belong in society and I lost all my confidence. And Jeff was the first person who was like, no, 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 you can't victimize yourself. My first meeting, he was like, that's not what this is about. The more you victimize yourself, the more you're going to fall deeper in. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to not victimize myself? Look what I'm going through. Like, I look at all of these symptoms I'm experiencing. And he just laughed and he was like, yup. And he explained to me his experience. And I was like, holy cow, that's 20 to 30 years of this. I've been going through it for less than a year and you recovered. And he was so unafraid, of what I was going through. Like he was so sure that, I was going to recover and that if I just followed the program that I would recover, that, it was like an energy transfer. It's like his confidence, his faith, and his, he wasn't afraid of it, and I victimized myself, right? And I was afraid of it. And when I saw him have that courage, I was like, wait a minute, maybe I can have that too. And he transferred that to me in our first meeting. And he let me know that I was part of this tribe now. And to me, family is a very important thing, and I have a very tightly knit circle. And so, when he said that, I was like, man, this is different. Like this is not just like some group on Facebook. Like this is a family. Like I really like this. And so he made me feel like I was really welcome, and he gave me that, confidence that I could recover after hearing what I was going through. And and so after that, I started to watch your content on school, which literally for the first, I don't know, month, I would put the content on everywhere. I could be sitting at home going to sleep. I would literally go to sleep, push play on the content, and just go to sleep. And I would wake up, push play, because I felt like the more that I heard you going through everything, it's like the fear was getting lower and lower and lower because my education was going up. So I felt like the more knowledge I had about a subject, the less fear I had. And so the school content, I just binged it so fast within the first month that I literally had your voice ingrained in my head. So when I was experiencing these symptoms, right? I would think to myself, Sean said that I'm gonna feel like this. He said, it's just a car alarm. The car alarm's broken, right? I'm just annoyed. Like it was so like helpful in that regard. And then, once I met the mentors and I understood how knowledgeable they were about the subject and how much they truly want to help. This is one thing that I really want to let you know, especially Sean. I paid a lot of money to speak to people prior to this, right? In different groups, different organizations, and it seemed like at the 45-minute mark or wherever our time ended, they were like, next. They didn't care. It was very transactional. The mentors here are the complete opposite of that. And that was the first thing I noticed, to where even if our time was up, right? If it was like available, they weren't just kicking you to the side. They actually cared, like, all right, like, what about this? What about that? And that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, wait a minute, these people operate differently. They actually care about us, because I know what it feels like to pay someone to talk to you, or to hear you out, and then them really not care for you much. So when I saw that the mentors really they invest themselves in understanding what you're going through, and uh, solving that for you, and making sure you truly understand what they're telling you, that blew my mind. I was like, all right, this group is a very, very caring group that is actually like, they want you to succeed, they want you to recover. And it doesn't feel like they're just here, it's not a transaction. Like they actually care about you. And I felt that from every single mentor, from Jeff, Merca, Kaylee, Shiv. It just, that's how they all treated me. And I'm really grateful that they did, because when you're going through something like this, I feel like you're extremely emotional, and even small things like that, I feel like really show you who your, who your tribe is. And Jeff said that, he's like, this is your tribe now, this is your family. And I have 100% felt like that ever since joining the group. It's literally a family, it's a tribe, we help each other. Getting onto the calls is so empowering, because you know you see so many people going through anxiety at different stages. And I feel like seeing people way ahead of where I was gave me hope, like, oh man, I can be there too. And then I'll put a message on the chat, and then they'll message back. And it was just like finally finding a home. That's what it felt like. Like, oh my God, these people get it. They understand me. It was just a breath of fresh air. And, that was led by you and the mentors. And I just feel like there is no way I would have recovered as quickly as I did without your teachings and the mentors and the organization that you guys have. Within, I mean, I don't know, a month, within 1 month, I recovered more in this program than I did 10 months by myself. And I'd say, like, if I recovered, I know we don't like to put percentages on it, right? But if I recovered, let's just say 10% from month one to month 10, from week one to week four, I probably recovered 30%, right? And like it was just so much empowering information. And I had to throw myself out there, like one time I heard Kaylee say, she's like, I don't really care about your small wins. She's like, I care about you going out there and like really challenging yourself. And I was like, you know what? That's true. Like I like to think of myself as a person who doesn't shy away from challenges. And having mentors like Kaylee, Merca, especially Merca, she's like, she's just like sick of get it. Like, I don't care, do it. And Jeff too, Jeff, they call themselves bulldozers, and when they said that, I was like, yeah, I'm a bulldozer too. Like, I like to be that person where it's like, all right, I'm gonna throw myself out there. I don't care if I'm shitting my pants, like I'm going to do it. And I was out there, like, after my first month, I started to go to like public events. And at these events, I had the like, extreme anxiety. I would do, sort of what you would do, where I was like, okay, I'm gonna pass out right now, and I'm gonna pass out right here. And I hope that there's like an ambulance around, because as soon as I pass out, I hope somebody calls the ambulance. And I always felt like I was gonna pass out. That was my biggest fear. Like, okay, I'm gonna pass out at any given moment now, because my anxiety is so high that there's no way my human body can take this. So at least there's people around here, and if I pass out or if I die, then at least they'll know. They'll call the ambulance. And so the mentors really gave me that that confidence in myself. And one thing that I mentioned on a call the other day is when I first joined, I was not skeptical, but I really wanted to see, like, okay, what are these mentors about? So I would bring all of my, you know, uh, symptoms, everything that scared me, and I just throw it at them, right? Because I'd say they're not gonna understand this, they're not gonna get this, and everything that I brought to them, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's XYZ. Yep, it happens because of this and this reason, and this is the way that you got to handle that." And I was like, That's it. That's so simple. You just cracked the code to my biggest fears in 5 minutes, and like I can understand it, and now I can take that power. And so every time I felt any kind of extreme symptom, I wasn't afraid anymore, because in my head I would just think to myself, okay, I'm gonna bring this to a mentor. If it's really strange, if it's really crazy, right? Because you have that internal dialogue where it's like, what you're going through is not normal. This is something that you shouldn't be going through this. And the intrusive thoughts, right, tries to convince you that it's something that is out of the ordinary. And so I always I always countered that with, well, I'm gonna bring it to a mentor. And if I'm going crazy, or if it's something really strange, then they're not gonna know how to handle it. But every single thing I have brought to them, they just give me all the confidence in the world, because they know exactly what it is. They know how to handle it. They've been there. They've done that, and they have examples of people in the program who have accomplished that. And then they ask them the question, and I'm like, holy cow, they went through the same thing I'm going through. And then they give me advice, and now I'm getting advice from people who are in the middle of it, and the mentor and the resources. And so it's just like all of this information allowed me to really take a position of power, because of the knowledge. And I feel like once I knew what it was, the fear started to slowly go away. And it's like I was saying on the call the other day, I still have the symptoms. Like, I, of course they've gone down a little, but I still have the same symptoms. It's just now I have a different relationship to them, and I feel like I am going to go live my life regardless of the symptom. I don't care. I know it's gonna be there. I know it's gonna be a little uncomfortable, but I really don't care. Like it's not going to stop me from living my life, and I am going to continue to do the things that I love, and get back to work, and not let this anxiety thing really steal any more time than it has from my life. And I always tell my girlfriend, I'm like, I should have joined Sean's program so much earlier. And she's always like, don't think about it like that. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's just those 10 months, I would have been so much better by now. But I'm just happy that I'm here now, and that I went through it. And who knows, maybe I had to go through what I had to go through to really teach me and really recover. Because one thing Mirka said is, uh, you know, uh, if somebody hasn't suffered enough, they sometimes don't take it serious. And because I suffered for 10 months,
Yeah.
like really strong, I felt like I was just like starving for direction. I was like, just tell me anything, I will do it. Whatever you say, I'm gonna do it. Like 100% submission. Like I am not gonna fight you at all on anything. Just tell me what to do, and I am going to do it. And within a month and a half, I was on a plane going to Mexico, partying at a nightclub, just like having a good time with my family out there. M And I never imagined I would have done that, because I was so afraid of obviously flying because of the claustrophobia, and then being in a different country. It was like, okay, if I have a panic attack out there, who's gonna help me? Like, I don't know the medical system out there. So Mirka and Jeff actually, they encouraged me to go on this trip to Mexico. And when I went on this trip, it was like the tipping point of like, okay, you can do anything. And after that, it was just like cosmic leaps. Like, okay, now what's your next biggest fear? Oh, the next biggest fear is going to like a public gathering. Do that. Okay, what's next? Going to a mall. Okay, do that. All right, what's next? Grocery stores. Okay, boom. So it was just like, what's my biggest fear? I'm gonna do that next. I'm gonna do that next. And then I got into that, that like cycle of like, okay, what what's my biggest fears, until eventually I conquered them all. And I talked to Mirka about this the other day. I'm like, Mirka, now what? Like I'm at the point where it's like, all right, I did all this, I had all these wins. Now what? Like I'm now, what do I do? Like, give me direction. And she's like, now is the part where you chill and you get back to enjoying your life. Like, it's kind of a boring part. And that's sort of how I feel, in the greatest of ways, that like I want this, but yeah, it's just so that's been my experience with the community.
Nice, man. That's amazing, dude. Yeah, you're gonna be at the stage where, I mean, you joined in like August, right?
Hmm. Yeah, this is
You're
I
3 months
think
in.
I'm like 10 weeks in, 10 or 11 weeks
There's
in.
some really awesome progress. Yeah, that's amazing. That's really great. Because I was thinking, I was like, man, still real in my mind, it's like August is still pretty new. Annihilating. You're doing so good. And now, yeah, I mean, Merck is right. Now it's just not about like conquering and showing your anxiety. It's just like now it's just live your life and let the symptoms come with you, let the anxiety come, and it will hop off whenever it wants. I remember I was going to grad school. I was still having symptoms, but nobody would have known. Even I barely remember it being there. I had a lot of the digestive issues, like the panic after. Um, just kept going. And then when did it go away? I don't know, I just did. And so that's going to be very similar. We're very similar in that sense, actually. I think like just your progress and your ahas, and also the attitude you came into the program is like, listen, I'm going to do it. I don't care. Like, just tell me what to do. That's You and I are very like. Um, my last question: what would you tell somebody who's um, kind of in the thick of everything you're going through? I mean, like that you went through. What would you tell somebody that's watching this video who's like really feeling stuck and feels like they're unique, and they're having all these symptoms and they're not sure what's going on, what would you tell them?
And you know, I was there, very very recently. I was there, and I tried everything. I tried everything to get out of the anxiety cycle prior to joining this group. So, I did like everything you could think of, just, and I heard you say the same thing where it's like, all natural healing, spiritual retreats, therapy. Therapy didn't work for me at all, by the way. Um, Supplements, like all these different kind of fish oils and ginseng and uh, everything. I even tried smoking weed. I was like, you know what? Uh, I I'm gonna just try and smoke weed. Worst idea ever. When you're in the when you're sensitized, it's not a good idea like at all. It's not as enjoyable. Wouldn't recommend it. But I tried every single thing you can think of before coming here, and I went the traditional route. I went the homeopathic route. I talked to all my doctors. I did all these tests. I did everything, everything. And you get to a point where you just become exhausted of people not understanding you and um, not understanding what you're going through. And I think the best advice I can give is you have to find a community that understands what you're going through, because if you don't, you're going to be very, very afraid and you're going to have very little hope of recovery because people around you are not talking about how to recover, right? Or that they have recovered. So I think the number one thing in life, just in general, like, um, is you got to find somebody that has done what you want to do, or has gone through what you have gone through and has successfully come out of the other side, like just in anything in life. That's if you want to get fit, right? You go, you get a personal trainer, you're going to move so much faster than if you watch videos and try to, it's not going to work. I'm a real believer in coaching just in general in life. I have a for work, I have a sales agency, and coaching is, that's what it's all about. It's all about coaching. And so to people who are in the cycle and who you know are going through the thick of it, I would say number one, there's a community for you. There are people out there who really care about helping you get out of that, and it you can come out of it. It's not going to be something that's easy, and it's not going to be a click. I always thought that's what it was going to be like, Sean, believe it or not. I was like, they're eventually they're just going to say something to me like hypnotize, and I'm just going to like, oh, no more anxiety. And obviously that's not how it works. It's like a small progression, 1% every day, until eventually, like Mirka says, you recover when you're not looking. Like, I would go, like, especially these past few weeks, I would go days, maybe even a whole week without thinking about anxiety. And then like randomly, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot you had anxiety. Like, you don't really have that anymore. But it's because I'm not paying attention. I'm living life. I'm working. I'm doing all these things. But for someone that is thinking about what their next step should be after finding themselves in this position, find yourself a tribe, like Jeff says. Find yourself a family that, number one, is going to give you the support that you need, and that truly understands you. Because I think it can be very toxic when you are in a group of people that don't understand you. I think very easily you can go down a rabbit hole that can be very detrimental to your recovery. Because I was there, I was there. I was around people who didn't really understand it, and it made me feel worse because it like I sort of alienated myself because I'm like, man, no one understands me. This must be something that is that severe that just no one can really understand me. And so find yourself a community, find yourself a mentor or a coach, somebody who has been through it, to walk you through it, because you don't have to rely on your own understanding. You can literally focus on what is my just the next step. That's all I need to know, right? That's the approach I took with the mentors, is like, all right, I just need to know what's the next thing I need to do. I don't need to know anything, just this next step. Okay, now the next one and the next one. And then soon enough you start walking on your own, and then you hear the questions being asked so many times that you sort of start to memorize the answers. So that creates the knowledge in your head, and you understand how to deal with problems, even with questions that you didn't have, right? Like there's so many questions that are asked on the groups that are answered, and I keep the answers with me because I know eventually I'm going to go through that, and when I do, I'm going to be prepared for it. So for anyone who's in there, you just got to find your tribe, find a mentor, someone that has gone through it, because recovery is possible. You don't have to take medications. That was my biggest thing. I just didn't want to be medicated. I wanted to fight this on my own, and this community gave me the confidence and the power to do that, and I'm forever grateful for that. But yeah, that would be my advice for somebody who's starting brand new. Fully submit, just fully submit. Like, don't be too proud, don't be too hard-headed like I was, right? Trying to fight the world on your own. Nah, just come in, submit, just be a putty, right? Let the mentors mold you, and they know what they're doing. And if you follow what teachings of the program and the mentors, you're gonna recover eventually. And that's what I would say to someone that's brand new.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Dude, I appreciate you so much for coming on the channel. It's been really helpful. I know a lot of people are going to find some great help and a lot of good value in what you've said. Is there any final thoughts you wanted to mention? You wanted to surface up, bring up? You've said a lot of great things, but yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah. First of all, I do want to just say thank you to you, Sean, because like I said, you're the first person who ever said that you could recover without taking any pills, or without getting medicated. And I feel like when I went through the therapist, it was always about coping and managing. It was never about recovery, right? It was never about breaking through. um so thank you for creating this whole organization, because if you never would have started this, I don't know. I mean, I don't know of any other anxiety recovery programs. I haven't found any. And you gave me hope when everything seemed dark. Just watching your videos gave me that confidence. And you obviously you didn't know me at the time, and this was like eight months ago. And I always would show them to my girlfriend, and I would say, "Look, this guy is saying that you can recover. Like, he's got to be onto something, because there's a lot of good comments under his videos, and he has a lot of content." And so, first of all, yeah, just thank you, Sean, for putting this together. Because if you didn't put this together, then I would not have recovered, and I would not have experienced the breakthrough and found the community of amazing people and amazing mentors that I found. And like I said, I just can't give enough credit to the mentors, because I feel like they're like they are the ones who really, really are like guiding you. They're in the trenches with you. They know what you are going through. They've been through it, and they have seen many people go through it. And so, when they share their wisdom with us, or with me specifically, I just try to absorb all of that, because number one, I feel like they care about me. Number two, I feel like they are knowledgeable about what they're talking about. And number three, they're trying to lead you to a place where you're self sufficient, which is very, very, very strange in just life, where people want you to like heal on your own, and they want you to um, be able to do something where you're self sufficient. It's not very often that you meet any organization that wants to empower you. A lot of organizations want to empower you but still keep you a little bit dependable. Not this organization. They truly just want to empower you so that you can go out there, you can live, and you can really take control without the need of the mentors, which is the ironic part, right? It's like they want you to not need them, so they do all this so that you don't need them in the future, which for me was a great thing, because that being able, if you give me the tools to fix it, then I will be able to fix it. If you fix it for me, then what's going to happen next time it comes crashing down? And I would be so upset, Sean, when I would hear you say, things like, oh, where you would talk about how you would prefer like long time recovery or something like that over short term relief. I was like, no, I want short term relief now. Like, there's no way that there's anything that could beat short term relief. Like, when you're in the thick of it, you're like, I don't care about long term. I want it now. And I would be like, nah, man, this guy has it all wrong. But you know, now
You notice in
now
hindsight.
looking,
You notice in hindsight.
yeah,
I know you want to feel better right now, but it's
yeah,
like you want to feel better and you want to stay better. And so that's
right.
why it's like sometimes the decisions you have to make is more for like long term than like the immediate relief. And I get it. I get it. I was doing everything also to like get whatever relief to the point where it became compulsive.
Hmm.
But yeah, the goal is to eventually sustain it, automatically on your own so that you don't have to constantly manage it and all that. So yeah, you've done a great job.
Right.
You've done
Thank
really
you. Thank you. But yeah, man. So aside from that, all I can say is, the finding a coach and mentor and someone who's been there is the most important thing in any recovery journey. You have provided that for us, so just huge shout out and a lot of gratitude for you and the mentors, the program, the community. Like, the people are amazing. Everyone here, like, as far as all the other members, everyone here is just a family, and you can feel that whenever you're on a call. So yeah, that's all I have, Sean.
appreciate it, man. Thanks again for coming on the channel. For everybody else, there's a bunch of resources down below in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.